Remember the good old days? You know, about a month ago when it was perfectly fine to send the police after people at the beach in Florida because that was the worst thing people were doing. Going out, getting some sunshine, enjoying the weather. How do they put it? Living their best life. Remember the good old days? When it was perfectly acceptable and fine to send the authorities armed out to the beach in Florida? My, how things have changed after a month, haven't they? 1 week ago, 1 week ago, barely even, I think this was the 26th of May, I put up a video saying that martial law was inevitable, and we are on the cusp of it right now. In many cities, operationally, it might as well be. Apparently, from what I've heard, the curfew in New York tonight is going to be 8 p.m. That's at least what they said on the news last night. It was a tentative report. Now, it has been a long time since I have felt the need to do a Patreon video. But I think we are there. That in order to explain what's really happening, I'm going to have to put it in a place where I don't risk my channel. Because it's going to be controversial. One of the things that narcissists do, and the media is run by them, is they set the playing field for you. They say, here's your option of belief number 1, here's your option of belief number 2. Where do you stand? Who are you? What group of people do you ally with? Not making any kind of allegation that you have the ability to say, I don't accept your premise. I'm not part of either of those groups, and the entire playing field that you've set is a complete fallacy. You're not allowed to do that. At least not on this platform. But I might later on risk it on Patreon, and if I do, I will go over to the communities tab and I will put a link there, and I will go to Patreon, and I think what I'm going to do is set basically everything down to $1 at this point, because it's not about earning revenue at Patreon, it's about protecting the content. Meaning the only people that can see it are the people that choose to see it. It could never end up in front of somebody who didn't specifically want to look at it. So, anyway, I'll set it. The cheapest they let you set stuff over there is $1 a month. So, later on when I get the video done, I'll go over there and set everything down. And all of you who are already over at Patreon, if you want to, go right ahead and, cancel. I can't cancel your subscription without them blocking you from seeing me. I can't manually do it myself. I could, but that would be the result. You would never see anything from me again if I did that. That's just how they work over there. So, there are plenty of other good causes, especially these days, with so many 40 million people out of work. So if you want to still maintain your subscription over there, thank you. God bless. I appreciate it. But don't feel like it's necessary. There are people out there now saying that silence is complicity. Meaning that if I don't, here at this channel, specifically take a position on something, that I am going to be assigned into a group. And that's dangerous. That is an incredibly dangerous place to arrive at in society when simply not speaking condemns you to being part of a certain group. And this is the real crux of it. The reason I said I'm going to probably do a video over at Patreon. Last night, one of their opinion guys, Hannity, stepped in it, and he didn't even realize he did it. He said something, and he repeated it over and over again, and nobody caught it. Nobody has said a word about it. And it's huge. It's absolutely amazing. I can't believe nobody is talking about this. But he gave away a part of his psyche that a lot of people would really love to take advantage of if they had that ability to understand what he really did. And I'm going to cover that in the video because it was such a big mistake. That nobody fact-checked the guy, that nobody came to him and said, Mr. Hannity, you can't say this. Because if people figure out what you actually just said, they will eviscerate you. Even in conservative circles, they will eviscerate you if you say this. This entire argument with what's going on in the streets right now has been contextualized incorrectly. It has nothing to do with what anybody says it's really about. It has nothing to do with Antifa. It has nothing to do with what happened up in Minnesota. But there are those at the highest levels of the media that do understand this opportunity, that do understand that they have the ability to make a whole bunch of money real fast right now. And they are doing it. This is really what this is about. This is the fundamental problem here. There is a schism that exists between these two places and everyone else. They are literally the Sodom and Gomorrah of the modern world. You have to wonder, when you read the story of that in the Bible, about all of the surrounding areas and why they were left fairly untouched. What was it about, specifically, Sodom and Gomorrah? I know a lot of people think they know, but it's really not just that. Because it was two cities, not just one. What was it that made them unredeemable? That quality, that characteristic exists right now in these two places. It's one word, and it's called narcissism. They have taken it to a level so far beyond what most people can understand that it's almost a mental disease for them at this point. A defect that makes them unable to relate to normal people. Unable to relate to people like you and I. I'm also going to cover this young lady. She and I don't agree on a lot. But she was one of the very first channels I watched on YouTube. Incredibly, incredibly intelligent woman. But she called this a long time ago. Voting ain't going to prevent anything. No. With 40 million people having lost their dignity, and that's a hint. Work equals dignity. When you take away the dignity of work from 40 million people, in that short a time, there is going to be a backlash. And that's what really this is about. I'll cover it more in that Patreon video. But this is about the government not taking your money, not taking your freedom. It's about taking the dignity that comes with work, with providing for yourself, with no matter how humble my castle is, I want it to be my castle, not the castle I provide with government money. And that's what this really, really boils down to. And unless North Americans get their head around this, we're done. We are absolutely done until we can restore the dignity of work. This was, and I don't agree with Manuel Noriega about a lot of things, but he got one thing right. He realized he was a puppet of North America. But he was trapped, and there was nothing he could do. But in his final days, he created these things called dignity battalions to go out, and they were largely corrupt and were there just to settle scores. But his original idea was to try to restore the dignity and the independence of the people of Panama. He failed. But that was his idea. This is how Venezuela kind of factors into this too. When you tell a people that you are no longer in charge of your future, we, the government, are in charge of your future, and you remove that dignity, something snaps in people. This happens in prison, but in prison, you can keep them in cages 23 hours a day. What happens when you do it to 40 million free people? This is the problem. This is what's going on. So, anyway, I've got some things I have to do here at the house. I will put together that video and put it up, and I will put the link for that video at Patreon in the communities tab where I usually put the polls. And like I said, I don't have a choice. $1 is as cheap as I can make it, but anyway, if you want to review some things and check out a channel that's really great for understanding narcissism, I've had this in my featured channels for a long time, Surviving Narcissism. Excellent, excellent resource on YouTube for understanding the basic concepts of how narcissists manipulate people. To dovetail with that, yourlogicalfallacyis.com, just like it sounds, yourlogicalfallacyis.com, and yourbiasis.com, talking about cognitive biases here. That website, or that YouTube channel, I should say, and these two websites, excellent resources. Fantastic resources for understanding psychological operations, psychological dysphorias, and how when you take those things and you put them in positions of power, they can lead to situations like we're facing right now. So, anyway, Florida not seeming so bad now, huh? Just a simple idea of going out to the beach and grabbing some sun and enjoying the salt air and relaxing. A month ago, it was the end of the world. Florida was going to be the new hot spot. Apparently not. Like, share, subscribe.